the worst kept secret is out. Liam Rosenior has been sacked. And yeah, not a major surprise, to be honest with you. The Chelsea manager who was in the job for about 4 months has been relieved of his duties. He was on a awful run, looking at the last 5 games where Chelsea haven't won, they haven't scored, and it was getting toxic. And I think it goes beyond just Rosenior. I think the appointment needs to be questioned. I think the directors need to be questioned. I think the owners need to be questioned. There are so many potholes in what Chelsea have been trying to do, and I feel like the gaps have been covered up by Maresca, essentially in the work that he had done previously, and now Chelsea find themselves looking for another manager going in to next season, and they are going to be going with McFarlane for the rest of the season. The manager who is essentially a stopgap between Maresca and Rosenior. And listen, I think Liam Rosenior has some ability as a manager. I think he potentially could do good things in his career. I think what he was doing at Strasbourg was admirable. I think his first season there was really where he shone. The second season was a little bit tetchy, but the fact that he's in a position now where he's essentially become a laughing stock within the football community because he was seen as like a LinkedIn manager. He was saying some things that fans didn't necessarily agree with, like manage and, things that just make it very easier for the online crowd to jump on an attacker manager. And again, I think he has talent. I think he showed in some of his early games that he has the ability to do something, but as time has gone on, it's got bad and it's got toxic. And we spoke previously about the Enzo situation. We spoke about Cucurella, these players talking out. And the thing is, you brought in an inexperienced manager, someone who, if we're being honest, didn't necessarily deserve the job, just based on the fact that he hasn't been in enough roles to take a job of this caliber. The fans weren't for it from the beginning, based on what Cucurella says, definitely. And now you look at it as a really, really bad appointment. Where Chelsea were before Maresca got sacked to where they are now is damaging. They look like they aren't going to qualify for the Champions League based on the defeat against Brighton, which I watched the whole game and man, it was bad. It was bad. And the players just aren't good enough. I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of the players in the Chelsea team aren't good enough. As I said before, they have a core group which probably are. You look at the likes of Caicedo, Reece James, Cucurella, Enzo, Cole Palmer. There's probably a couple more, Jao Pedro, who are probably good enough, but they're supplemented by young players who I don't think are at the level of what Chelsea have spent money on. Liam Delap, I think, has potential, but for a team in the mid table, in a relegation battle potentially, like, I don't think he's a Chelsea player through and through. And I think they've bet a lot on potential and they haven't developed that potential. They haven't given that potential a platform. And I don't think they've signed the best young players in the world. I mean, Esteval, for example, might be one of those, but it's been a lot of injuries for him. He hasn't had the certified game time that you probably would have wanted for a player of his stature. And it's just not flowing well. I think the directors, the owners are in a very precarious position because what are you actually building towards? And from what we heard from Rosenior before he left, it seems like they were trying to change direction, looking for more experienced players, players who could supplement the players that they have now, who are looking to win now. And yeah, I mean, the first thing that comes to me is that Chelsea's defense is so bad. It's so bad. I know there's gaps in the team and some of the young players there aren't performing. Gittins, for example, is someone who, came in with a lot of admiration from what he was doing in Germany. But even then, you could kind of see he wasn't of the level of what they paid for. So a lot of bad deals. But that defense, I look at it, even when fully fit, and I think not good enough. I don't see enough leaders. I don't see enough quality there. For Fana, for example, for me, his time should be up. Chalobah, I think, is okay. But again, I don't think he's consistently dominant. What he did for that third goal wasn't good enough, and he comes out after the game saying, we ran enough. It's not down to the effort. I think it kind of is down to the effort. I mean, you're talking about a Chelsea team who have been outrun in majority of their games, so they're not working hard enough for one. Secondly, yes, there may be tactical decisions. We know that Rosenior likes to switch it up quite a lot in game. That's something that had been kind of rumored or murmured about from the players not really liking that and it not being consistent. Fair enough, but You shouldn't be losing to Brighton 3-0. You shouldn't be losing to Everton 3-0. You shouldn't be capitulating to Man City after a decent first half. I mean, these are all of the things that you need to be aware of. The Man City one can kind of be forgiven. Man United, they played okay, decently well, but again, they lost at home, and that's bitterly disappointing for a fan base who are spoiled. I mean, they are spoiled. They have enjoyed a very, very good time. And you can't blame them for being upset because when you are accustomed to winning Champions Leagues and Premier Leagues and being competitive, and now they're in a downturn. And even again, when they had Maresca, they won the Conference League, they won the Club World Cup. That holds you over. That holds you over. I think Chelsea fans know deep down those trophies weren't levels in terms of where they've been, but they could be looked at as stepping stones. But now all that progression is gone. All of that effort is gone. Maresca is gone. Somebody who is highly touted, someone who looks like he will be having the next crack at the Man City job after Pep goes. This is what Chelsea were looking at. And it seems for whatever reasons, the directors and Maresca couldn't get on board. And they bring in a manager who essentially you think would be subservient to them, someone who is of the mold of the directors or whoever's in control. And I think the same is to be said about McFarlane as well. He is somebody who's been chosen by, I believe, Joe Shields, or he has a relationship with Joe Shields. It just seems all a little bit convenient. And whoever does come in, a top quality manager, I think they would expect a lot more from the board, a lot more from the club and the owners, and for the club to be running away where they have a say and they have a strong say. And I think, again, this leads to me thinking the results were bad, definitely. But you've made the decision and genuinely want to think that the players have shown a bit of player power. I think a subset or a section of the players have shown a bit of player power and pulled rank and said, yeah, this isn't working. The results adding to that, the directors probably fearing the implications of not qualifying for the Champions League because they're massive. Chelsea aren't run in a way that is profitable at the moment. Yes, they may claim that they are. We know better. The dodgy dealings that they've had with the amortization, extending things for X amount of years, the women's club and selling that to itself essentially. Blueco are always doing something a little bit dubious, in my opinion. And UEFA found it out. They came to a settlement with UEFA due to their indiscretions. They look like they are teetering with the Premier League as well. I mean, they came to an agreement with the Premier League for their past indiscretions, which again wasn't punished anywhere near enough. And so, with all of this in mind, you look at Chelsea as being a little bit of a mess. Probably not even being a little bit of a mess. It's a big mess. And I don't think they're qualifying for the Champions League. Europa League is in doubt. I would probably say if they're not going to qualify for the Europa League, they're better off just not qualifying for anything and using this as a season like Man United used it to really focus one game a week. It's painful for the fans when you're accustomed to playing Champions League and you're going up against PSG this season, but you probably need a reset year if this is the case. And I think it was probably avoidable. I think if everything worked out for Chelsea, they could have seen themselves in Man United's position. They could have seen themselves third, top four minimum, and getting into Champions League for another season, building, developing the players, and potentially having a manager who would push Blueco to do the things that they need to do. We saw the protest on the weekend. I know the fans aren't happy, so they're going to apply the pressure. But this club isn't going to be sold overnight. The owners aren't going to change overnight. The directors aren't going to change overnight. This is something that's going to be a long-standing problem, and you just hope that they've got their act together. In the official statement, they said they recognise that they've done some things wrong, but I think Chelsea fans need more than just recognition that you did something wrong. They need it to be course corrected. The next manager coming in has to be a winner, has to be somebody who will adapt to the Premier League and do what is needed. And I think again, there's been murmurings about Cesc Fabregas potentially. I'm not sure who they get, but they need somebody who's serious, who knows the league, who will be able to adapt quite quickly. And I think this is an imperative decision. I think not only because a new manager will be selected, but also because you're looking at a lot of squad building needing to be done. And there's players who potentially are looking for their exit. We heard them already. Enzo, Cucurella, and I'm sure they'll be looking even further in the summer if they have the suitors. Guys, let me know who you think Chelsea's next manager should be. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you soon. Peace.